Hello and welcome back to Into Vietnam Daily News, exclusively on VITV, following some major stories. The General Statistics Office says Vietnam Consumer Price Index edges up 0.55% in February. The State Bank of Vietnam says bad debt stand at 9% below Moody's estimate. And Vietnam incurred trade deficit of $1.2 billion in February. The General Statistics Office said Vietnam's Consumer Price Index is estimated to have accelerated by 0.55% on month, 4.65% on year in the second month of 2014, driven by price hike of food and foodstuff. This year, February CPI growth posted the lowest price hike level since 2007. In details, 9 out of 11 baskets of goods contributed to the calculation of CPI data, so the prices increased this month, in which prices of food and foodstuff posted the highest increase, which rose 1.15%. Prices of traffic came the second, with 0.6%, followed by prices of culture, entertainment, and tourism, rose 0.61%. In the downside, prices of housing and construction materials slid by 0.64% this month. Prices of postal services and telecommunication basket eased by 0.02%. Earlier, Ho Chi Minh City announced its February CPI rose 0.24% on month and 4.37% on year. Meanwhile, Hanoi CPI increased by 0.49% on month and 5.93% on year. The State Bank of Vietnam says bad debt in the country is expected to account for about 9% of total loans after careful calculations, below the 15% ratio estimated by Moody's Investor Service. Banks in Vietnam managed to cut bad debt to 3.63% of loans by the end of 2013 from 4.73% last October. Moody estimated last week problem assets in the system to comprise at least 15% of total assets, significantly above the 4.7% non-performing loan ratio reported by the State Bank of Vietnam in October 2013. The central bank says Moody's uses its own methods, criteria and information to measure Vietnam bad debts, so they provided a different result. It says if calculating thoroughly, the ratio of non-performing loans, including the bad debt restructured under Directive 780, would be just around 9%. The central bank says it aims to solve toxic problems loans by the end of 2015. The Vietnam Customs reported the department's state budget collection to February the 18th this year reached more than 22 trillion dong, or 9.8% of the yearly projection required by the Ministry of Finance. The figure increased by 16.5% compared with the same period in 2013. In January 2014, the custom budget collection through import tariffs is estimated at nearly 18 trillion dong, or 7.6% of the projection, and is an increase of 29.3% over the same period in 2013. The January revenue increased sharply compared to January 2013 due to higher turnover of some products, which are applied with high tariffs over the same period last year. The Customs Department has directed local custom agencies to collect the budget revenues to meet or exceed the projection for 2014. To monitor and manage the state budget collection and payments, timely handle the problem that remain about tax policies, provide solutions to reduce losses, and increase state budget collections. Data released by the General Statistics Office showed the index of industrial production, or IIP, in February slumped 10.3% from the previous month, but still rose 15.2% on year. The slump was attributed to a long period of Tet holiday during the month, affecting business and production activities. The mining industry production rose 2.5%, processing and manufacturing industry 19.5%, electricity generation and distribution 13.1%, and water distribution and treatment 7.1%. In the first 2 months of this year, the IIP rose 5.4% from the previous year, higher than the 4.4% growth in the first 2 months of 2013. The inventory index at the beginning of February rose 12.7% from the same period last year, while the figure was 9.7% in early January and 21.5% in early last year. According to the General Statistics Office report, employment rate saw improvement in February. Although the Lunar New Year extended for 9 days, employment rate of industrial businesses as of February the 1st still rose 5.1% on year and 0.4% on month. According to data from the National Research Institute of Mechanical Engineering, imports of machines and equipment for some major industry in Vietnam in 2011-2025 period may hit $250 billion. However, at present, Vietnam is capable of meeting only 25% of the total demand for equipment and spare parts. The rest comes from imports. Experts say in order to develop the mechanical industry, it's necessary to focus more on supporting industries.
This is one of the first forklifts assembled and produced in Vietnam. The representative of the firm said that they had studied the Vietnamese market for a long time. After seeing the potentials of the market, the firm started to establish the factory to produce and assemble forklifts and air compressors, the first one in Vietnam. According to this firm, although they can make the whole products, their production technology is authorized by a foreign company.
Hiện nay thì nói chung là cái công nghiệp mà máy móc ở Việt Nam cũng còn khá là non trẻ. Như các bạn thấy thì ở trong hội chợ ngày hôm nay thì những cái máy móc lớn, máy móc công nghiệp thì đa số là những cái công ty nước ngoài họ đến đây để mà tìm kiếm cơ hội và tìm kiếm khách hàng. Thì hiện nay là những cái công nghiệp mình ngoài những cái công nghiệp lớn như là ô tô hoặc là xe máy thì có những cái chính sách từ lâu của chính phủ thì đã phát triển đến một mức độ nhất định. Riêng đối với những cái ngành như là máy phát điện hoặc là xe nâng vân vân là những cái ngành cơ giới khác thì hiện nay ở Việt Nam cũng còn rất là trong cái giai đoạn phôi thai, chưa có cái công nghiệp đó ở Việt Nam.
This is a computerized sculpture machine being marketed recently. Thiên Quỳnh is the first firm to complete the engine for the sculpture machine in the Vietnamese market. The company said despite 20 years of participation in the market and experience in assembling machinery system, they have to import electronics controllers from other countries in the region to produce the completed engine.
Riêng dòng máy này thì tôi nghĩ là nếu mà so với Trung Quốc thì mình không có thua, do cái phần điện tử, phần điều khiển bên điện tử là mình không có theo kịp với các nước ngoài. Khả năng về phần lắp ráp cơ khí thôi, nói chung là chỉ là cái phần hỗ trợ cho cái trong toàn cái máy thì mình không thể nào mình làm được. Việt Nam mình không thể nào làm được.
According to the National Research Institute of Mechanical Engineering, there are many obstacles in raising the localization rate of the industry, in which increasing the supply rate of the supporting industries for the mechanical industry is one of the solutions.
Nguyên nhân từ những cái khó khăn như vậy là do chúng ta các cái chính sách mà chúng ta về thuế nhập khẩu nó chưa hợp lý. Như tôi đã nói trên, chúng ta chú ý về cái thành phẩm nhiều hơn là chúng ta quan tâm đến cái linh kiện và phụ tùng cho ngành sản xuất. Cái thứ hai nữa là cái nguyên nhân về cái ngành phụ tùng là hầu như các cái doanh nghiệp ít quan tâm đến cái vấn đề mà sản xuất các linh kiện phụ tùng, mà chủ yếu chỉ quan tâm nhiều đến cái nhập khẩu để mà cho cái lắp ráp mà hoặc là nhập khẩu các cái linh kiện phụ kiện để mà cho gia công thôi, mà không quan tâm đến cái sản xuất cái linh kiện.
According to businesses in the mechanical engineering industry, if the localization rate is high, consumers will benefit from the price guarantee period, after-sales services, and technology transfer. However, to overcome the existing obstacles to develop the industry, Vietnam needs to make bold efforts to be independent from foreign technology and develop our supporting industries.
And coming up next is some foreign trade news. Vietnam has run up a trade deficit of $1.2 billion in February, or 5.9% of total import-export value, following a large surplus in January. Data show Vietnam export earnings are estimated at $9.6 billion and its import value at $10.8 billion. Experts explained businesses focus on production to meet export orders before the Lunar New Year that fell in late January. Businesses resumed production again in February, fueling material import demands. Despite February high deficit, the national economy has still maintained a trade surplus of $244 million in the past 2 months. Vietnam earned $21.06 billion from export, up 12.3%, and purchased $20.82 billion worth of imports, up 17% in 2 months. The foreign direct investment sector enjoyed a trade surplus of nearly $2.1 billion, while the domestic economic sector showed a deficit of nearly $1.9 billion.
According to Vietnam Customs Statistics, Vietnam's export earnings from the U.S. market hit $2.35 billion in January 2014, a year-on-year increase of 16.2%. Textiles topped the list of export items, earning $954.53 million, up 20.9% compared to the same period last year. They were followed by footwear, raking in $248.12 million, up 2.6%, and good products valued at $186.67 million, up 1.9%. Approximately 1.5 million Vietnamese residents in the U.S. support Vietnamese products in penetrating the U.S. market. Besides, once the Trans-Pacific Partnership or TPP agreement is signed, it will offer plenty of opportunity to Vietnamese exporters. However, the Vietnamese Trade Office in the U.S. warns Vietnamese businesses will encounter difficulties breaking into the U.S. market unless they meet its tough requirements.
And before we go, let's take a look at today's summaries of local gold prices, forex, and stock markets. Well, that's all for this edition of Into Vietnam. Thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye for now.